Were you recruited by Krappensburg State?
I didn't get a letter from them, unfortunately, but I would have been a strong consideration, though.
um, when you look back on recruiting, was there anything that stood out that was like interesting, different, bizarre?
Um, well, Mike Leach was at Kentucky, and he was the one that recruited me hard. And honestly, I'd be on the phone. I wouldn't say a word for an hour. Like he would just go, and he would just. I mean, he was no different than what he was. All his coaches, God rest his soul, but just one of the great personalities. And he could talk like no one I've ever seen. I'd be like looking at my dad, like I gotta get off the phone. I got some homework to do. Like I got some stuff to do. I can't get a word in. But he was always interesting, kind of going on his spats about who knows what.
But how close was it that you were going to go to Kentucky?
They were throwing it around, and it was Hal Mummy and they, Tim Couch was, in the mix, and they were kind of having some upsets. So if you wanted to go throw it around and do the spread offense and have some fun, that was a spot. So I don't know if it was, it wasn't totally outside the mix, but it wasn't in the top 10.
If you were coming out now, what would intrigue you? Where would intrigue you?
I mean, I think there's a lot of schools that are intriguing. I mean, obviously, Georgia, Alabama are always in the mix in the SEC. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, they're throwing it. They're putting up a lot of points offensively. Ohio State's always in the mix. I mean, you kind of look at the top teams consistently. I think those are always popular, but I think it's still important for players to, hey, look at who's the offensive coordinator, who's the quarterback coach, who's the head coach. What's the vibe of the team and the closeness of everybody. So I think it's really about, taking those visits, being around the players, being around the coaches, and where do you feel comfortable? Where do you feel, hey, I'm going to fit in here. I'm going to be happy here. And also look at the university. I think it was important to me. And I think it was because I had an older brother, Cooper, who went to play college football and got injured and never played a down. I said, hey, I want to pick a school where if something happens and I never played one down of football, I'm going to be happy here and I'm going to stay here. And this is where I want to be. And now I don't know if that's going into any consideration with guys now and or any athlete is where they pick their school. It's NIL, and it's so easy to transfer. I don't know if that's a part of their decision making.
What's the biggest mistake we make or analysts make looking at a college quarterback when he goes to the NFL? That we see success in college, but what do we miss out on most, do you think?
I think it's got to be, how is the guy getting the ball out, on time in rhythm. And I think that's something that it's hard to see that in college. Like, hey, how many times is he, not looking at the right place, going, looking at the wrong read? Hey, he can scramble, he can create plays, but he's holding it, for 4 seconds and got the completion. That just doesn't happen in the NFL. I think it's, looking, hey, is this guy getting the ball out on time, in rhythm, throwing the ball accurately into, on time is just so important. And I think it's hard to get a sense of that in college. You can hold the ball longer. It's hard to get pressure on the quarterback unless they're blitzing. With a 4-man rush, the quarterback can sit back there 3.5 seconds, and that doesn't happen in the NFL.
He's Eli Manning, 2-time Super Bowl champ. Do we want to play guess Eli Manning's middle name?
We could play that.
Okay.
Around the room, you want to go first or last?
Todd, you go first.
Dabney.
Okay.
All right.
Seaton.
Incorrect.
I'm gonna say Whitney.
Whitney.
Oh,
Eli Whitney.
There you go.
I like that.
All right.
I like it.
Marvin?
I'm going to go Nathaniel.
Nathaniel. Okay.
Strong.
Paulie?
I know it. So,
Okay.
but I can give you a hint, Dan, before you guess. His older brother, Peyton, his middle name is Williams.
Okay, I was going to go Winston. Eli Winston Manning Jr. the Third. What is it?
It's Nelson. Nathaniel is close. Nelson, which is a family name named after kind of one of my uncles. So yeah, Elijah Nelson Manning. Strong name.
You're joining us on behalf of Quaker, their pre-grain tour. I'll let you give the pitch here.
Yeah, that's kicking off the first ever Quaker pre-grain tour. If you don't know what pre-graining is, it's basically you just start your pre-game with some Quaker Oats, which I did every day and still do. And so basically, this is a tailgate that's visiting NFL stadiums throughout this year. They've had got a few more, and they're introducing their new digital Quaker playbook, which is 32 recipes representing all the NFL teams. And that tour will end at the Super Bowl Taste of the NFL. Well, they'll announce a $250,000 donation to Quaker's longtime partner, Gen Youth, which is a youth wellness nutrition organization, nonprofit. And so it's really about what Quaker's doing and understanding that the circumstances of life should not be a barrier for good nutrition. So it's great to team up with them, have a little fun, do some tailgating, and learn some different recipes for using Quaker Oats.
Peyton famously had Omaha. Did you feel like you had to be creative at all with any of your audible calls?
Well, first off, I think we got to set the record straight where I used Omaha way before Peyton ever used it.
Wow.
He stole it.
Wow, that's breaking news.
It is breaking news.
So that's intellectual property that he stole from you.
Yes, exactly. It was in our playbook. It was a word. He used it the exact same way. But I have to be a little honest. Not me personally, but my rookie season, John Huffnagel's our offensive coordinator. He come from New England, and he brought it from New England. So I stole it technically from Tom Brady. We used it for a long time. And then 15-ish, I think that's the year. They must have really turned up the microphones on the quarterback. They put the speaker, they put the recording on our jersey so you could hear everything the quarterback was saying. And Peyton played a playoff game, and he must have said Omaha 85 times in the game. And it just, everybody's like, what is going on? What is the big deal about Omaha? He's getting free steaks out of this. He's got a key to the city. He's got a production company named after it. And I get nothing. He didn't even send me a steak. I get nothing from him. No credit whatsoever.
When do you know that you've pressed the button maybe too strongly with Peyton? Like you'll jab, but when do you know that you crossed the line?
When he doesn't respond, he just kind of like he kind of just goes quiet and just kind of shakes his head a little bit, like, hey, that's off limits. Don't keep going. Don't harp on that. Don't expand on that. Like you're in dangerous territory. Retreat a little bit. Retreat. So when he kind of he does not, respond to it. That's when the
forehead gets red, I think.
That's kind of always the case.
That's a big forehead.
It is. When the vein starts coming in the neck and like on the side of the forehead right there, it's like that's more clock management. It's situations on the opposing team or one of the teams. That's when the vein clock management is his number one pet peeve. If I were to ever say I don't think Peyton had good clock management as a quarterback, I think he would burst into flames.
Great to talk to you. Good luck with Quaker pre-grain tour. He's Eli Nelson Manning III.
Elijah Nelson.
Elijah Nelson Manning Jr. III. Good to talk to you, Eli. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, Eli Manning there. Yeah, because they came in and did a commercial at SportsCenter, and Eli was kind of getting picked on by Peyton, and then their dad was there as well. And I kept thinking, at what point does Eli smack him back? Because Peyton was doing licking his finger and putting it in Eli's ear and then kicking him in the rear end. And I thought, Eli, you should be able to smack him.